Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian community's movers and shakers. Join our hosts, Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira guy Nissen, as well as the Jira amigos in the peanut gallery, as we sit down and discuss the latest going on in the Atlassian ecosystem. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life, the Jira Life chose us.
So the word of the day I'm understanding is tequila.
Tequila. But before, a special shout out to our sponsor, Revyz, for not only blessing us with tequila, but also blessing us with the opportunity to sponsor this episode. So special thank you to Revyz. Jens, how are you?
Good morning.
Can you just
Bright
be like
and early.
Madonna? Can you just be like Madonna and just be like on a first name basis?
We can do that. It's probably easier, but you can pronounce my last name so well.
I cannot. That's why I learned the Y. I finally got the Y down. But that
Schumacher.
I'll get it one day.
I know better than even try.
And so I'm like, Jens is just going to be on a first name basis. But tequila, on that topic, Jens, what was the highlight of Teams for you?
I wish it would be tequila, but that's a good question. Let me think. It's just like I'm not sure if there's like a one single highlight, but it's always just a big blur. It's like so amazing to run into all the people. You always think you have a ton of time when you get there, and then like that, it's over.
Yeah, 24 hours in a day are not long enough.
Yeah.
And I ran into you a couple times. That was fun.
Yeah, and you try to make the days last long, and then it's like 1:30 a.m. and it's like, I gotta get up at 7 again. So
yeah, that I was getting back to my room almost at midnight. But by the time the adrenaline wore off, like I was falling asleep like at 1. And we were getting back up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to start the day all over again.
Yeah. But I did like the Formula One car, I gotta say.
You didn't try to sneak in and get in there?
I did. And then they tried to intervene. I said, it's okay, my last name is Schumacher. It's a famous racing car driver for those not aware.
People.
That's driver, not the team, Alex. According to you, they count.
No, knowing that Mike listens to this, I don't want to piss him off, so F1 is a team sport.
Definitely a little bit of both. Just like basketball.
You're still passing the ball around in basketball. In F1, and the moment, like what counts is the person that's driving the vehicle and the road in front. That's it.
Well, when
There's
I
a
got
whole
the
team
tires
effort.
changed.
I get it, but that relative to the thing, it's the spectating part is the driver and the road. I'll argue that, but it's a team effort. But so is everything else in life. Is a team effort, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll go with that. So I ran into you on Monday. We're on the way to Disneyland. Did you go to Disneyland? You were going to Disneyland, right?
I did, yeah, but I didn't stay long enough. We talked about that, yeah.
Oh yeah, because you.
Yeah. We went had the partner event, and I'm not gonna say this officially, but Disneyland is fun, right? So partner event is fun too, but yeah, Disneyland would have been really fun.
We had a blast at Disneyland. I grabbed a group from Spain, and I gave them the Spanish tour of Disney, and we just had a blast. We made it to the very, very end. Like they walked us out of the park.
Nice.
I lost somebody for the first time in 30 years of going to Disneyland. Never once lost a child, and I lost an.
Oh, you lost a child? No.
No, I lost an adult. I had like 4 bearded Spanish folks with me, and we walked into a store. We walked out of a store. I should have counted how many bearded guys were with me. And 30 minutes later, one of the guys was like, "Wait, where's this dude?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? We're missing one." So I lost a person. Then you and I, we closed off Teams.
Yep.
Almost. Right, I got to see you right there at the very end, hanging out with your best friend.
That's right.
I love.
We actually spent like the whole like morning together. That was really fun. Yeah.
Sure,
went to Disney Town and bought a souvenir for the kids. Like it's the Australian dollar is like the Mexican pesos a little bit. So it's like I paid 60 Australian dollars for a T-shirt for a kid. That was outrageous. But It's a Disney thing, I guess. So
I wish I would have advertised it more. So I have a discount for all the Disney stuff, and like I actually ran between when I saw you at the very end of Teams and the bash party, I actually went back to Disneyland.
Right. There you go.
And I actually ran into somebody at Disneyland, and he was on his way to downtown Disney to buy something. And I'm like, I have an annual pass. If you want a discount, I get like 15% off or whatever. He's like, no, it's cool. I'm like, all right, I offer.
Well, no, for next year.
Next year when you come, I'll make sure to spend my $6,000 so you can save $5.
Which I'm excited about. I actually really like it in Anaheim. It's just so nice that you get to go outside every now and then, and you don't spend 3 days in a hotel like in Vegas.
That's the thing about Vegas is you land at the airport, you go to the hotel, and you don't see Sky again until after Bash.
Well, to be fair, if you're in the Venetian, there's some Sky. It's that
real
fake
Sky.
If you're rich,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I guess that Sky trips me up though, man. That the way that it moves with you, I was like, holy moly! Imagine if you're drunk. It must be like the metaverse.
Yep. No, like I really liked Anaheim. Just feels a bit more human. And it's just the casino gets me as well in Vegas, but that's a different story. It was fun. It was a great event. Meeting lots of great people. We talked to a bunch of solution partners that we started working with now, which is great. And then, of course, like having customers come by the booth. We had a small booth, but we gave away. Yeah, you didn't come by the booth. Did you get a book lamp? No, you didn't get a lamp.
No, I look. Don't even talk to me about this.
Okay, well.
But it's a whole thing.
What happened to trying to get all the swag?
I ran out of time. There were not enough hours in the day.
I suppose you're going to blame someone for scheduling all your interviews.
No. I go to the Atlassian research booth, and I was like, there's like 5 minutes before they close the expo. I'm about to go do the Jira Life and do my talk. And I was like, lady, can I have your swag? She's like, yeah, but you got to take the 15-minute survey. I'm like, that thing closes in 5 minutes. I don't got 15 minutes. Like, I'm doing the last round of swag collection here. I predict that I did not get to about 20% of the booths.
Yeah, it's tough.
It was big. It was a lot. And I went to a lot of booths.
But not to ours.
But not yours. So Aptis, before Team, I had posted something. I'm like, hey, who's going to have the best swag at Team, right? And everybody's kind of showing off. And so they had the little cameras. I think I have one here somewhere there, there. And Aptis was like, you didn't come by our booth, Alex. I'm like, nah, I didn't get a chance. She's like, we'll ship it to you. So I'm expecting a shipment. So Team continues for me.
Nice.
But how was it? So I did want to hear a little bit about the book lamp. Walk us through.
Well, people repeatedly told me that was the best swag. Don't want to brag, but I had this whole marketing spiel set out where I walk up to people and ask them, "Are you stakeholders in the dark?" And I open the book lamp, and it was puts a smile on their face. How dorky I am. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
So what was the idea? What was the inspiration?
We just had like an offsite a couple of weeks before then, and just came to it. Like the book lamp itself, I had for ages. I bought one like 2015, and I really love it. It's awesome. And then I just like wonder if they have a small version of that for swag, because the one I have is like an A4, like a really big one, and you can't, like, putting that in luggage is bad and things like that. So I found one, and then I was like, okay, now I need like a theme around it, and it's like yeah, not keeping your stakeholders in the dark. It's like, oh, perfect.
You know, ClearPath last year had flashlights that they were giving out. Because of the clear path, so you light the way.
Nice. Yeah, you gotta do something. Yeah.
I love that. Not keeping stakeholders in the dark. See, I don't have that part of the brain that comes up with those clever things.
Yeah.
What about you, Rodney? How you doing?
That was fun, and it's one of the things, like, I didn't want like socks and like everybody else.
Everyone has
like,
socks.
Everyone has socks
has
and
t-shirts.
Hey,
And things
but
get thrown away or like not worn if the t-shirt, like unless you make it really like I don't wear these t-shirts anymore unless they're like really cool.
like the resolution t-shirts.
I haven't seen those.
You haven't
Oh,
seen the
maybe
resolution t-shirts? I got a whole closet full of them.
There you go.
Out again on the show. I have to be careful about what I wear.
Yeah.
Because the marketplace partners will notice. I've gotten several emails about that. Hey, thank you for wearing. But the
Yeah, you're
only
gonna wear
shirt.
a sweater soon in case you're cold.
Yeah, I might get cold. But the only vendor shirt I would actually regularly wear, just off the show, is from Device 42 because it just has "Don't Panic" across the front, and
Nice.
I just love that reference.
Yeah. Yeah, it just has to be like fun or subtle. Like you don't want to have like a massive just logo plastered on it. Like the early Atlassian shirts were really fun. Did you guys see those? Do you have like the You've Got Issues one and
No, but I did pick up a new Atlassian sweater recently.
oh yeah.
I got for being a
yeah, those are
speaker.
nice.
Where is that?
I used
For
to
being
have
a
one of the plan ahead ones.
Yeah.
That had like
yeah,
the head broken apart.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I found out about the Dragon Slayer deal.
Yeah.
About 6 months after
Right.
they stopped giving out the shirts.
Yeah. That's right.
I was disappointed. But
I heard Get Kraken has some really cool T-shirts with like Disney embedded in it somehow. I didn't get to see that one. I did not pick up that one. And then I think Aptus had some nice T-shirts with like the Atlassian logo and Disney on it as well. So, there's their little robot logo on Disney. So I missed that too. But pajamas would be cool. Brittany and Mike were rocking the ensemble.
Yeah.
What was it? Email for Trello or something?
Yeah, we need to take lessons from them for TJL next year. But what I really want to see is like a massive collaboration between marketplace partners with their swag, where like you get a UV flashlight from one that you use to read a secret message on a T-shirt from another that leads you to something else that has another clue on a third, and just go through a whole chain.
That would be an involved process.
But it would be fun.
I think you guys should get like a T-shirt each, one with a T, the other one with a J, and Bob with an L, and then you just like stand next to each other.
So Jens, so it's appropriate that you're here for this episode, although it's a little early. But our birthday's coming up in like 2 weeks, on the 23rd, I think. I got to check that. Our birthday's coming up very, very soon. Let's see. When was our first video? Was, oh boy, why is this thing not telling me? It's like in 2 weeks ago. So let me see. We have 70 videos published here. First video introducing the Jira Life. That can't be right. June. I'm on the videos. On the live section,
the live section would be where the actual first one was.
All right, let me get over there. Hold up. This is important, Jens. Don't bear with me for 1 second. Okay. So something's still wrong, Rodney. This one's saying June 8th. And I know our first video was like May. What am I doing wrong here? Do we post?
Oh, you're supposed to be the YouTube guru.
Okay, well, our birthday's coming up towards the end of May, early June, and you played a critical role. Like, well, first of all, before I get there, we were thinking of Rodney and I were going down memory lane this morning on how the Jira Life came to be, and I'm remembering now that you played a critical role in the logo of the Jira Life. You remember?
I mean, somewhat critical. I gave some feedback. I'm not sure.
You gave some feedback. Like you gave all the feedback. You're like, here's a bunch of logos. Pick the one you like. I don't know. Did we go with one of yours? I can't remember.
You didn't. No, you didn't.
But you were like the one that was there with us, like helping us figure.
So here's what happened.
All right.
Here's the real story. I think you posted a bunch of logos on LinkedIn.
Right.
And then I went and
created
a bunch of logos myself and say, hey, what about like these ones? Like, check out these. Like, this is like good. And by that time, people already voted for this one. It's like, I like those, but people already voted for this one. I think we got to go with this one. That's what happened.
People had spoken by then.
So I gave some input. But
Yeah, he gave some input. But I was also so I was talking to Sean about, because I started a new podcast with Sean Doyle here on the chat called the DevOps Roundup, and we were talking about, I'm like, if we're trying to figure out how to grow it, and I'm like, well, the best way that we grew the Jira Life was Rodney and I one day were like, what episode was it? We just sat down and we were like, okay, so what's the history of Jira? Right, and we just started talking about, like, here we go, July 20th, 2023. We do an episode of what's the history of Jira, Atlassian's logos, origins, and Atlas, the little dude, right, holding the world. And then I remember getting a comment like shortly after that episode went live, and Jens is like, "This is all wrong." Like, I was there, and it was all wrong. And so on July 27th, 2023. Our episode, The Origins of Jira, as told by an Atlassian, was published.
Nice.
And so you were there right at the beginning, man. You play a special role or special place in the Jira Life's history here.
Well, I'm glad, and it's awesome seeing you guys grow so much over the last year. So it's been fun to watch.
You were the first person that we needed a script for. And now look at us. Where's the script?
Yeah, you don't need a script anymore. It's like, it's not what people do. Like Joe Rogan told everyone, you shouldn't have a script. Just have a 3-hour long conversation, and there will be something fun in there.
Something, right? Something's got to stick.
Yeah.
Except we don't have tequila in our.
And then you can make shorts out of those things, and that will drag people into your conversation.
There you go. See, so now you guys. Now you're obligated to tell us something inspirational, insightful. What's the most deepest, most thoughtful thing you can tell us about the future of your company, of Atlassian, of where we're going? Come on, yeah, give us something.
I need some more tequila. Tequila first.
What do you think about at night? Like, what keeps you up? Like, where's your head at when you think about your company, where you're growing it, the direction, future?
It's like so different every day. Just like depends on what's happening. Obviously, building in the marketplace, you're always like thinking about, first of all, like, where are we headed? Where's Atlassian headed? How do we grow more? I think like one of the biggest challenges in the marketplace is exposure, because you don't really own the customer as much, and getting in touch. We talked about this before, like the challenges in the marketplace. And just like what I realized is for a bootstrapped company, one of the other big challenges is marketing, because you don't have a massive marketing budget that you can just like throw out and then like acquire a user for like $1 and you make 20 cents on them for a little while, because that's okay. So the getting started takes a lot longer with bootstrap companies. And that was the case with Atlassian as well. Like, we didn't have a lot of marketing back then, so the growth was never like 300% in the first, like maybe in the first year or so. But like when I started, like from there, it was like maybe 100% or like 50. Like it was pretty steady, like 50% roughly every year, just because we didn't do marketing.
So how much of your time today do you spend figuring out the marketing aspect of your company?
My personal time, I probably spend like 30% of my time on marketing. Yeah, and that includes.
I spend an unhealthy amount of time studying YouTube, and
right, yeah, exactly, yeah.
How to do YouTube, how to grow this thing, and more time than I would care to admit. So I was curious, because you're technically a technical founder too, right? Like you have an engineering degree, right?
I do, but I wouldn't call myself as technical anymore. So
you love that vibe coding now?
Yeah, exactly. So the vibe coding helps a little bit. So I can do some things again. But like I actually started when we started the company. I did write a bit of code, and there's still a bit of code in there that I still regret that we have to take out at some stage. But after like a week or two, seeing the output that Adam had versus me, I was like, okay, this is not worth. I should do something different with my time. So that's like, I should focus more on marketing or something else, because that's not time worth well spent.
Yeah. So how's vibe coding helping you guys out right now? Like, what is the role of AI in your company?
So I convinced the guys to use it a lot more. And it's interesting when you have very senior engineers, it takes them a lot longer to adopt vibe coding because they're good at it anyway. So I was like, oh yeah, we can do it, and it's probably, maybe it's not going to do what I want, or I don't know what the reason is. But I think you're just more hesitant if you exactly know what you want. You're more hesitant to try it out and play with it. So I think it took a little while of me mentioning it all the time and then writing some prototypes with it, where it really helped. So, and that's where I use it mostly. When I did maybe a Figma prototype before, which takes quite a while to create, and yeah, probably took me like 2-3 days. It just takes a lot of time. And they're not as interactive. Like they're still fairly static because you don't have a lot of data in there, and it's pretty scripted. Versus creating a prototype with like Bolt or like Lovable or like Cursor, any of these. It's just a lot more interactive and more real, so you can give it to people. So I'm not sure if you remember, on LinkedIn I posted this this prototype of a board and a timeline kind of component. So basically the idea was like, I do know that people in a meeting, let's say we review the Q2 roadmap, and you kind of want to see what was the Q1 roadmap again? Like, do we have that slide, or like, how do we get back there? So for people then to say, okay, well, can we just see the difference between Q1 and Q2? I was like, that sounds like a great idea. I'm really surprised nobody has done that yet. And maybe even like go back and say, what has changed in the last 2 weeks, and like see the difference there. So in my head, it was a great idea. It sounded really great. And then I created a prototype, played with myself a little bit. And I was like, guess it's okay. And then I put it out to people and say, like, what do you think? Most people just did not care. They just did not care. There's like, there's one thing I want to know. Is this thing delayed, and by how much? I don't care if like the other values changed on it, or if like the attributes, like nobody cared really about that data. So that was an interesting finding. And we were about to actually put the whole team. That was before Team 25. I was like, hey, we need this demo ready by team. I would like to show it to people and get feedback, real life feedback there. And we're supposed to do that. And spent a week with the engineering team writing it, and then I sat down on the weekend, spent 3 hours, and created that prototype instead. Tested it with a bunch of people, and realized like this would be a total waste of a whole week. And so then it was like, hey, let's spend that week writing a timeline view instead, because we know that people want that. So, and then we'll show that off at Team 25. So that's what we did instead, and just was so much better. Saved like a whole week of engineering time. It's nowhere near production ready, but it's fine. Like it's really good. Have you guys played with it? It's like
with your demo, or
now with
the vibe coding stuff?
Yeah,
I got my wife's doing it. We're in the middle of building our first app, and we're finally getting traction. And so I see her. She sits on my side here, and I see ChatGPT and her. It's like having her personal tutor. But the hallucinations are still, with respect to Atlassian stuff, is still there's not enough out there for AI to help. Like it works with basic stuff, but once you start getting deep into doesn't look like it knows as much.
Yeah, I think it's great for like a prototype what's pretty generic, and you just tell them what to do. Let me show you actually here. Share screen.
Yeah, share your screen, because then one of the other questions that I want to ask, and that's Rodney, you got something.
Go ahead. Mine can wait a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, as you're demoing this, I was at the resolution booth before team came in. And sorry, I was at the resolution booth before the expo started. And there was like a partner keynote type of thing happening right before the expo opened up on Tuesday. I remember Bjorn walking in, he's like, because they basically they knew what was coming from Atlassian, right? I remember he walks in, he's like, man, we got to rethink a lot of our strategy, because the play with Rovo is going to change a lot of marketplace apps. So one of the things I'm curious about you is how is Rovo impacting, changing, reprioritizing where your company is going into the 2025. But let's take a look at this, and then we'll come back to that question.
Yeah, I'll get to that. So basically, this is the idea to have a board, and then you have a timeline. And again, like this is all like vibe coded. So you can click on timeline, and you get this timeline here at the bottom. And the idea is that you can like go between the row, kind of the different versions. These are quarters, and see what has changed. So like this card disappeared. This one was modified. It's hard to see, but the items that are modified are a little darker, and the other ones are back. But then you can like switch out to the side, view the changes, and see that the status has changed from like ready to delivery, for example. And you can go through the other ones as well. And then if you want to compare two different versions, you can just do that as well. So have two versions that you can compare between. That was the idea. And yeah, like 3 hours, you kind of like build something like this. And it's really good just to get initial feeling and see what people think about it and if they find it valuable. Yeah.
So Rovo then.
Rovo.
What were your guys? What was I know that at the beginning, right? You're obviously Sharif and you are like this.
Yeah.
So I know that you were playing with Rovo before even Rovo was cool. But how are you guys adapting to it? Like, how are you reacting to Rovo?
Yeah, we joined the beta actually, or like I'm not sure if it's beta, like the development before they released it and everything, just to see if they wanted to see what it's like to build agents for it. So we built an agent for release that would give you release notes, like answers about like what's been published in the release notes. We didn't find it super useful, to be honest. We was like, okay, what can we build? And so we never made that like a production agent or something like that. But yeah, it wasn't even this year. That was last year when I first announced it. Sharif gave me a heads up and said, oh, by the way, we are going to build a release notes agent. So it helps you create release notes. And I was like, yeah, okay. So he showed me what it looks like. I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. The trouble is, or it's just trouble. Like the reason why I'm not so worried about like that particular part, for example, is that it's much more than converting like some text into a release note. That's the easy part, really. The time that we spend all our time on, like for example, the AI piece, I think in total, maybe we spent like a week. And that's like initial development probably was 3 days or 4 days on the AI component. And then like more refinement and stuff later, maybe a week, maybe a week and a half, right?
Wait, hold up. You changed the headphones. What happened? You finally gave up on Apple?
No. So I because I have this plugged into my microphone. Yeah. And the Apple ones, that band doesn't work well. So I had it hanging on this like headphone holder, and I didn't realize that would kind of the band would give in over time. So now it sits on the hard plastic my head, and that hurts. So I had to put like a rubber band in there that's orange, and it always looks not so great.
Sorry, I noticed you're on a different set of headphones, and that distracted me. Squirrel is the official mascot of the Jira Life now.
There you go. So back to like the AI part is the like relatively easy part, but the harder part is actually the workflow around it, like finding the right issues, creating a template that is consistent, creating like actually giving users settings that make sure that it's always the same. You can create like a Rovo agent that does like some of this in terms of like make sure that the tone is always the same, but then you want to do it per Jira issue, and there's like a whole bunch of things to make that easy. And then you have the publishing part as well. Like how do you actually bring that to users, which that's probably one of the hardest pieces, to make that easy and like embeddable and customizable and all those things. So that's really what I struggled with before. It wasn't like so much the writing, which is nice to have this, but also the publishing. So this is a whole workflow that's really part of it.
Now, so you're not worried right now, right? But we're at the beginning steps of Rovo. Do you foresee a future, and this is more speculative than anything else, but do you foresee a future where Atlassians and these agentification of AI eradicates the need for a marketplace?
I think a chat UI is just not the best interface for everything. I think it will augment the marketplace, and there will be a lot of functionality that moves into agents, and whether those are written by marketplace vendors as part of the marketplace apps, or if they're like separate apps, I think it will be a mix of both. I don't think it will eradicate the need for marketplace. Like, for example, a lot of the apps are all about kind of visualizing something. You don't want always like a piece of like text spit back to you, or it's not about generating content all the time, but sometimes you just need to see something at a glance, whether it's like a dashboard, kind of a custom Jira dashboard, or like a table with additional information, like time and status things. And you kind of, I think those are like interface things that are not going to be replaced, interfaces that are not going to be replaced by an agent right away. But there will be a lot of parts of the workflow that will be made easier through agents, like answering questions about the data that you might have, or maybe even like bulk actions or things like that, right? So it will be a mix of both.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm seeing is agents will become a big factor, but we've seen this in the marketplace before where there's a marketplace app that's well-liked, does a particular piece of functionality, and then Atlassian comes along and says, we're also going to do this functionality.
Yeah.
And we see the marketplace partners that can really navigate that are those that get it, and this is fine, but we do it better. So, Rovo could do release notes, but all you have to do is provide a better release notes and you still win the conversation.
Yeah, and we see that now as well. Like we developed and we get into that in a little bit. Like release this has come a long way since the first time we talked about it. Initially we started with release notes, but it's all about stakeholder communication now and customer communication. And there's definitely a lot of overlap now with Jira Product Discovery as well. So in Jira Product Discovery last year, they also announced that you can publish a roadmap and share the roadmap with stakeholders. And then after their customers asked them for a while to also make that available to anonymous users, they released it as well. But our goal is to do it better. So I think there's like a core offering that they have to offer it. I get it. Like there's certain things that customers just expect from a core product. And then the question is like, can you provide enough value on top of it where your customers are happy to pay extra for their capability?
The times are changing.
The times are changing, indeed.
I'm told there's a song. Where's Bob with his 80s song memorabilia?
Yeah, but there's like things like the checklists, for example. Like I really think checklists should have been a thing in Jira 10 years ago. I was surprised that when we introduced them at Atlassian Confluence, when they first introduced the checklists and decisions, that was called Fabric at the time, and it was supposed to go everywhere. And then it just didn't make it into Jira for some reason. So I thought like those checklists at least would make it into Jira. Like now they have their own. And obviously there were like a bunch of marketplace apps that filled the gap. And again, they're still filling that gap. The checklists are like a core capability. They're like fairly basic. And the marketplace apps, because they want to charge a certain amount, they have templates on top of it and all kinds of functionality on top of checklists that make it like much more powerful than just the basic checklist. And I think that's just how you have to deal with it.
How much more expensive do you think Jira is going to get in the long term?
It's still pretty affordable. I just looked at the pricing the other day. Like people keep saying it's like the price increases and everything gets more expensive. It's like, it's like 10% here. So we just like it's definitely like a hard bullet to bite. Is what do you say? Bullet to bite?
Yeah, that's one of our sayings.
Okay, there you go. But like if you compare it to other products in the market, it's still like one of the cheapest ones, though.
Well, there you go. Mad Door still cheaper in service now, because I wanted to ask. So you were with Atlassian at the beginning, right? And you see the humble beginnings of Atlassian, the roots of Atlassian, but when you start to hear the direction of Atlassian into enterprise, like what do you think from a non-release CEO and non-early Atlassian, but just as a vested party? Like, what's your reactions to Atlassian kind of doubling down on this marketplace?
Well, I think we always talked about, like, it was always a challenge for Atlassian because we grew back then into enterprise companies like Fortune 500. And I think we did an okay job serving them, but it was really hard to expand with the motion that we had back in the days where we didn't have any sales. We had some kind of pre-sales and some kind of like more advocacy where we go into the larger companies and like kind of teach them and like try to get them to expand, like show them how to use the product better, but not really a sales motion like they have today. But we always talked about how do we cater for the enterprise without losing the kind of the SMBs? And that's kind of the challenge, because if you only cater for enterprise, and Atlassian knows that very well, because that's kind of what Atlassian took advantage of when we started, that there was like room for other players in the small, medium business market to kind of disrupt them. And then if they disrupt there, then over time they go up if they have a much better offering, right? Similar to what Atlassian did as well. So I'm sure they're still very much aware of not losing that part of the market. And I think you can do both. Like I think it's much easier to start where Atlassian started and go up than doing it the other way around. If you start an enterprise, it's really hard to simplify and go down into an SMB market.
But do you think that culture needs to change to accommodate for an enterprise market?
I think the culture has been changed quite a bit. I mean, there's like 1,000 people at least like now in sales and revenue functions. And it doesn't have to change completely, right? Like I think the engineering culture doesn't need to change as much. I don't think you want to become like a sales-led organization where all the decisions for product are made based on enterprise sales. I see that in like some other companies, like I'm not going to name any names, but there's like another company that how do I describe them without telling who it is? Another company that's very, very sales driven, and they used to be very engineering driven. They used to have
they don't have the word sales enforced in it.
Exactly. No, they used to be very engineering driven and had like a massive following in the engineering community, and then switched completely to because they wanted to.
And
I don't know.
That's kind of what I was trying to get to, right? Because that affects a company, right? Like I feel like you have to become a shark to survive, right? Like you can't have these humble I advocate for the user type of mentality when like it's a dog-eat-dog world in the world of business, right? And you have to be aggressive, you have to have tactical sales tactics, but sometimes you need to make deals, or sometimes you need to cut corners, and sometimes you got to compromise or do whatever you got to do to make that $2, $3, $5 million sale. That to me it hurts, right? Like if I was at the beginning where like you were, or what the early stages of Atlassian, and you kind of see it now. In English, we also have this term here that says you'd be rolling in your grave. Like we always say like Walt Disney, right? Like yesterday I was at Disneyland and for the first time in 30 years, I submitted a complaint. And my wife's like, "Why are you gonna go do that?" I'm like, because if Disney was alive and they saw what Disney has become now, like it hurts, right? And so I'm just curious, like, does it feel like it hurts a little bit, like what Atlassian's becoming? Or do you not think it's changing enough yet to hurt?
Like so I think like one advantage that Atlassian had, like always, is that you didn't rely on one customer. And I think that's still true, and it's going to be true going forward. If you have only like 100 customers in enterprise, then you have to kind of bend to that. Then like one deal is really losing you like maybe 5% of your business or something, depends on how big it is. And that's something that's hard to swallow. So for Atlassian, even if it's a big enterprise deal, if they don't get it, is it the end of the world? Probably not. Like obviously it would be nice, but I think that it's not that you have to change everything in organization. Like we have to move everything to make this one deal happen. That's not really the mentality. And the company is like so big right now that I don't think that's even necessary.
Yeah.
So I think they can find a nice balance, and they're doing it. Like if I look at Confluence and Jira, the improvements that they've made over the last year. First of all, I picked up the pace quite a bit. I wish there was a little bit more polish here and there. I'm very vocal about this on LinkedIn. But in general, I started to really like the navigation, the new one, because it's much faster to move around. I love how customizable it is. So they're doing a lot of things that are good for the user.
We're gonna end it here. But
there's a question about like what I think or what we think caused a shift economy leadership. I think it's just as a public company, you have to figure out where you grow and how you keep the company growing, and that's part of the shift. And it's always, I think it's natural, the larger company gets, the more up market you have to go in terms of sales. And
but
it's been a gradual shift, really.
Like bringing in Brian Duffy, right? He's like an enterprise expert. That has to impact your culture to a certain degree, because this is a decision maker at the top.
Yeah.
He's expecting certain behaviors of his direct reports, but if you're not used to that relationship, like, I think it causes friction.
Yes, I think from what I know, though, it's still like there's still like very different parts of the company where you have sales, which was always somehow isolated, like marketing and sales, and partially because when we started, marketing and sales was always in San Francisco and all the engineering was in Sydney, so it was always quite separate. And I don't know exactly what's today. Maybe they're a little bit closer, but from what I hear, it's still quite separate as well. And the shift is probably in that sales function. I know they want to get a lot more, like with Brian, from what I hear, is that they want to have a lot more technical salespeople. I think there was like a bit of a lack there. So he's kind of changing the culture there and like what they expect. And that's for sure. But I don't hear much on the engineering side that the culture is changing much, apart from bringing in people from Facebook and or like Meta and Microsoft, where I think obviously they bring some of that culture into Atlassian as well. I think like the performance culture has changed quite a bit from when I started, which I think at the size like it gets more necessary as well. You like otherwise you have a lot of people who just coast if you just like let it run like we did back then, right? So when you rely on everybody being self-sufficient and like it becomes obvious that somebody's not performing in a large company like this, it's just not as obvious. Like you all know the Silicon Valley episode where that guy hangs out on the roof. That's a thing. That's a thing, right?
Like, so what am I supposed to do at work today? He's like, nothing. He's like, but no, what am I supposed to? He's like, but am I being fired? He's like, no, you're not being fired. He's like, but what do you want me to do tomorrow when I come? He's like, whatever you want.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm worried. I'm fearful, right? Because I think out of all the companies in the world, Atlassian does it right today. But I've seen as a company, Atlassian becomes a more sales-driven company, that there's a certain stigma behind that. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm worried the most right now is because like the Teamwork Collection is something they hyped up at Team 25, right? But if you go to the website to try to buy the Teamwork Collection, you can't. Mm-hmm. You're prompted to go talk to our sales team, which is the first, right? Because Atlassian, one of the spirit of Atlassian was like, well, if you got a credit card, we'll make it happen.
Well, I think there's also, and Atlassian is doing this with a couple of things on the marketplace. You see the like bundles as well. If you go to the Atlassian marketplace, now they have this bundle thing, and it's also like talk to us. And it's not because they want to talk to you and it's like or negotiate the price. It's more about gathering interest. It's kind of like goes back to that whole like Dropbox model. When I first started out, and say, hey, we'll put up the website. We don't really have the product ready yet, but we'll see what the interest is. So I think it's a little bit like that as well. Maybe they don't have all the infrastructure in place yet, but want to build it out gradually, get feedback, improve it along the way. So it's more an iterative approach rather than like a high touch sales. So that will come. I think the collections will come, and I'm pretty excited about them. To be honest, when I first heard it, I was like, this doesn't sound right. But it's a bit like the Adobe bundles, right? Where you can buy the individual products for like X price, but you get a discount on the bundle. And if the bundles make sense, that's great. I think early on we tried to bundle Atlassian things. You might remember Jira Studio. That was interesting. There was like the technology challenge, but also bundle challenge, because you basically cater for like largely developer audience, but we wanted to go more after the rest of the organization as well. So that didn't really work. But now the product suite is much broader, and you can actually create those bundles, and it eliminates some of the confusion because there's so many products now, 20. So just saying, okay, there's this bundle for collaboration. These are the tools that I need for that. Yeah, that's good. I'm quite excited to see where that goes.
The first thought when I saw the bundles was, this reminds me a lot of how Microsoft approaches things with Office. I mean, we have the Office 365 bundle that everyone gets, that everyone knows. But there are specific packages if you need more of a designer package, or you need more spreadsheet and analysis work or project management, that you can really get into the weeds if you need to. But still, we have the everyday package for the vast majority of people. This is going to cover probably about a good 80% of use cases. And I think that's the direction they're really trying to head here. And I can't say it's an unsuccessful model, because, I mean, Office has been around since when?
Yeah. Before I was born. Nah, not quite.
So yes, we're down to the last 14 minutes here. So did you want to present us with some stuff? Did you want to chat about some more visual stuff?
I mean, we can. We talked about stakeholder communication and what that looks like. And I gave a presentation recently at the Gold Coast Ace. I wasn't there in person. I wish that would have been nice, because the Gold Coast is quite nice in Australia.
It's in Australia. Okay.
Yeah. It's
the Golden Gate.
They used to have like a really nice coast, and then they had a hurricane, and all of a sudden that beach became a 2-meter cliff everywhere. So that really is hurting tourism, and they're trying to figure out how to fix that.
So I might go to Australia if Carolyn Allen figures out the logistics, right? But my mom's like, you can't go to Australia. You're gonna die because of all the bugs and stuff. Like, I can you've survived for Australia for a while, right? Like it's not that bad.
Yeah, we have like a few of those dangerous spiders, but it's fine. Like I think nobody has been killed by a redback spider, which is like one of those dangerous ones.
But like, are they in your house type of thing, or they're like
around the house? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So they're
similar to like a black widow here in the United States.
Yeah, that's right. And you haven't been killed by a black widow lately either, have you? No.
I try to actively stay away from them.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you do the same here. That's how you stay alive. So it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. We'll see.
But yeah, so basically, I gave a talk on like stakeholder communication that was people liked, and I think we talked about this. That's kind of what we switched to, or I shouldn't say switch. That was always our vision, to make it easier for the product teams to communicate with their stakeholders. And Atlassian, the tools are very good at team collaboration and planning, but the communication outwards just is not as great. I still remember that I would have loved to see Confluence being able to publish pages in like 2017 or so, or 2018. And I think we got it last year or the year before. It took a while.
Yeah, we got live pages now. We don't even need to publish.
Yeah, the live pages, but they're still not public. So being something to share like publicly, and I think it still could be better, but that's a different story. But yeah, that's the
feature. Is there a Confluence feature that you wish you would like, that was on your backlog, that you just you guys never ever approved or worked on?
No, well, I think the public page is like one of them that is really good. And
Rodney and I were this morning, we were like, okay, so we have not met a single person that likes the new UI.
On Confluence?
No, all the anything new.
Really? I love it. I think it's just a matter of like getting used to it.
That's why I threatened to stop the show 10 minutes ago.
Right. I think it's just a matter of getting used to it. Like if you start using it, like navigating, and I navigate a lot, like for testing and the app, and you will find it becomes so much faster to get around. And because you can customize it, like it just feels, I really like it.
The biggest problem, and we were primarily talking with Jira admins.
Yeah, we're talking with Jira.
Jira admins tend to work by muscle memory. We don't think about where something is. We just kind of go.
Yeah.
And they messed with the muscle memory.
But I mean, that's what happens, right? But every now and then you have to do that, and it's tough for a little while, and then you get used to it. But for the users, it's a much better experience.
I think about early Facebook, and I had joined Facebook as a user early in their career before they even had the feed feature. And I remember at our university where people hated the feeds when it came out. Everyone was calling like the stalker feed, and oh my god, I hate this thing. And that went on for about 2 weeks until Facebook made another change to the feed, and they're like, oh my god, why can't things go back to the way they were? I like the feed the way it was. I'm waiting for that switch to happen to myself with the new UI, where I just get so used to it that when they make the next change, I'm going to hate it. But
that feed change I think that feed change worked out okay for Facebook.
It worked out great for them.
Yeah, it worked out real well.
And that's the point of the story.
But on a very serious note, so Rodney and I were doing this thing this morning, and we're like, what would happen? Like, so we see Jack tickets all the time, right? Those the requests from people about to make changes or features to Jira, and we were kind of half joking of like, okay, so I wonder if we can submit like a request to get a feature changed in Jira. I think Rodney wanted field level security, right? But then I had this genius idea. I was like, well, what if we got all of our followers across the Jira Guy, Ape Tech, and the Jira Life to like flood a Jack ticket, right? And like really, really like everybody hit gathering interest, or I'm interested, or whatever you hit, right? Like I wonder what that would do to Atlassian's like algorithms. Like, do people actually see the Jacks? Like, is it like an algorithm that surfaces certain things once it passes a threshold? But I'd be curious if we can influence change on Atlassian. So then we were like, well, let's get a petition going to like revert the UI. And so we're curious if we can get a petition with enough signatures to go back.
Yeah.
But apparently you like the UI. So
the product managers still review the tickets. So it's a challenge. And that's like another thing that we're actually looking to solve and working on next. We're building like one thing that customers always ask us for is like, Jack, we wish we could use it that way because it's just like such a great way to collect feedback from customers. But customers could really never do that because of the licensed users, and it was just the licensing model that never worked. And at Atlassian, we couldn't really change it because the licensing model is quite the opposite there.
Well, just don't be surprised if we stage a coup.
So we basically building like a Jack for everyone in a way where we make it easy for people to collect feedback on their ideas. So that's the next thing for us. But let me show you this photo of Atlassian in 2005. So this is an Atlassian 2005. That's the handsome guy here on the right-hand side. That's yours truly.
You wear glasses? Oh no, wait, I can't see.
No, there's no glasses. No. I think there's a pirate flag there inspired by Steve Jobs in the back.
I remember that. Yeah.
And this is the Confluence team. I think we had probably like here maybe 7 people on the team. There was even that's kind of the second room that we got when I first joined. We only had like one big room office where Jira was on one side and Confluence on the other, and this is then we get like our own like Confluence office basically.
Is that an Apple mug on your desk though?
That is not an Apple monitor. I think like in fact I'm not sorry?
The coffee cup, yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, I had an Apple mug, yeah, that's right. I'm not sure. When I first started, we got Dell computers, and that changed real quick after everybody started to bring their MacBooks in and worked on those instead of the computers that Atlassian provided.
Yeah, Power Mac there. That's
so that was one of the first. I think we must have just gotten them, and everybody was really excited to have like.
I still have one of those.
And the reason why I share this is because, like, obviously, when you're a small team like this, communicating with everybody what's going on, like what is shipping and what's been released, like was super, super easy. And I compared to just like a few years later, this is the San Francisco office. Not even, is it the first
one? Not the
one?
current San Francisco one, right? Because
no, it's not the current. Like it's the
that's last week and it doesn't look like that.
This is the second one. It's not even the first. The first office was in 2006, and that was down in the Mission. And this is
Yeah, I
There's
heard,
still in the
it was
mission.
owned by a courthouse, and it was like in a super shady area.
Yeah, it was pretty shady. This was still pretty. This one is a shady one actually. This is close to the courthouse.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a basketball court next door, which was nice. But yeah, definitely a bit shady. Down on 7th Street, I think.
Don't go outside at night, you'll be fine.
Yeah, but the it's a lot bigger here, and then you have 2 offices, one in San Francisco, one in Sydney, and the communication just got a lot harder. And in particular with marketing, letting them know what's happening and going on, that we just didn't. Well, I would say like we didn't have the tool. Like we could have sent them to the Jira board, but that didn't really work. So that's kind of like the thing. And then I created this thing, which is I created this with ChatGPT. I'm so proud of myself. I think ChatGPT, maybe like one of them. So I like basically had this one roadmap to rule them all, right? So that's what people then like created, like a roadmap somewhere in Jira or Confluence or like PowerPoint or somewhere else, and say, oh, this is the roadmap, and like give it to everybody. And that's like really what people seem to do still. This is like a survey that I found where people just have like 64% of the people still have this one roadmap. Some 16% have 2 different roadmaps, and then like goes from there. But it's usually like one of those. And then I think the problem was like you couldn't really send the sales team or the marketing team to a Jira plan. Like that's kind of what that looks like. And they were like, okay. Like even the simpler views in Jira kind of freak people out for some reason. So you had like that stuff. Do you guys send people to Jira plans?
What's a Jira plan? No, yeah, of course we do. The problem is you still need a license to see it, right? So
that's true.
That's one of the biggest challenges that I like. A lot of the teams that I work with, we invest heavily in getting a plan set up, especially to see cross organization.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we need every player in there, and that tends to be a little bit more problematic because your CTO is going to check into Jira like once a quarter.
Yeah. So I think that's the trouble. And then like people do this. This is why like somebody at Atlassian created this.
I never liked the Confluence. It's nice, but I hated that you had it here, but it didn't reflect the Jira tickets.
Exactly. I always like it's like everybody loves creating them because it's nice, but everybody hates updating them because they just don't stay in sync and they're not reflected somewhere else. I like it was a ship it, I think, at some stage, and like people just did it. And then you get like to like Excel. People get really fancy with Excel or Miro boards or PowerPoint presentations. So that's kind of like what it looks like, but it's all like time consuming. Create up, look at this.
Yeah, it's a full-time job to just maintain the roadmap.
Static, outdated. Look at these animations on the slide. So really you want that to be different.
This is why you're not coding, man. You're just like the PowerPoint engineer.
But wait for this one. So this is kind of like what this looks like, right? Like this is what you present. And again, it's like outdated the minute you leave the room. So that's why it's like, you don't want to miss this, Alex. You got to look now. So here, this is the.
Oh.
So basically, that's basically what we said. You kind of want to create something that looks like this, has more detail, and stays up to date. So that's
you were really inspired by Apple, weren't you? Because that totally reminds me of that 1984 commercial where she chucks the hammer at the screen and just like shatters it.
I mean, it is Apple Keynote, so that's the thing. But so this is kind of like what this thing looks like now. What we decided to create is like a single hub, what we call, where you can send everyone to say, "Here, this is how you stay up to date." So this is like what our released hub looks like. If you go back here. So you basically have different portals here. This is our public portal. This is our demo portal that's also public. And then we have a private beta hub that we can give access to specific users. And here for stakeholders, those are like internal updates. And if I go into the demo one, you basically have your like release notes now that you can generate from released. And then we have these roadmaps, and you can have multiple roadmaps for different customer segments or stakeholder segments, I should say. So like a now, next, later for customers, and one for the leadership team that's more goal oriented, one for the sales team that's more like Q1, Q2, and has like information about sales readiness and kind of like some pictures and hints on how to sell it or what's the value proposition. You can like slide through these pretty quickly. So, and it's all Jira information, and you tailor it and like say what you want, what you want to show, like what fields you want to show and what tickets you want to show. And then we added this one, which I'm super excited about. You saw that online, the timeline view. So you basically have like the same view as a timeline as well. And you can like move between them, jump back to them, and then define like what you want to show on hover. And same thing when you click on them. But yeah, I think the point is to make this accessible without all the craft and only the information necessary for that audience, and keep it in sync easily. So that's the thing. And they don't need a Jira license.
Well, one, very beautiful, much better UI than other tools.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get how you like the new Jira UI. I don't know that we can be friends after this, Jens.
It's so nice.
I mean,
it was already a strained relationship because of the team managed projects.
Yeah,
So,
that is.
I was just about to bring that up.
That is a huge problem too. Like, why?
I'm a huge fan, and they just need a little bit more work, but they're getting there. Like
I said, I like the idea. I like the idea of it's simpler Jira to bring people in to get them started on the power curve, especially if you're a small company. I'm just not a fan of the implementation because for a Jira admin, when they eventually do become in, it's going to be a headache.
Yeah, have you seen the JPD global fields? I mean, obviously there's more than fields, but I think that you just need a way to manage all of this in like a simpler way. In particular, I worked on the last year at Atlassian. I worked on Jira Service Management, and back then we actually had a test running with the team managed projects for Jira Service Management, and team managed projects were really the first one where you could define your own issue types on the project level and kind of customize them. And in Jira Service Management, before you had like issue types, and then you had to map them to kind of the Jira Service Management kind of ticket types. It was very convoluted. And when we looked at the conversion rate when somebody gets started with the product, it was 20% higher with the team managed projects than if somebody had to get started with the regular ones. So to get started, like obviously for an experienced admin, like it's a lot of change. There's like still like
but then you
drawbacks
correctly, and then in a year you got to redo the whole thing because then you hit the limits of team managed projects, and that's expensive. So, I think
that's the thing, right? Like there's still work to be done to improve that.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we are right out of time. So thank you so much, Jens, for joining us from early in the morning in Down Under.
Isn't this usually like 1.5? Is it like, do you want to cut that short because of the team managed project thing now, or is that?
No, we're always at an hour. I can go for another 2 hours. We can turn this into a Rogan episode.
We only saved the 1.5 episodes for
MCB.
like very, very high up VIPs.
Don't tell him.
Oh, okay. I see.
Don't tell him. You're gonna make him feel bad.
Yeah.
I'd rather be honest.
Not for people with like the navigation. People who like that navigation, like kick them out.
Yeah, the people that like the navigation, people that like team managed projects, definitely no.
So let's do another one in like a couple of months, and then we'll see what you think about the navigation. I want to hear your opinion.
So Mike walks into the interview that we did with him. Mike walks into the expo hall. We're eagerly waiting for him to enter, and as soon as he walks in, he's like, "So you're the one that doesn't like my UI."
Nice.
And I'm like, guilty. All right, sir. Thank you.
Fun.
We really do only do these for an hour, but again, if you ever wanted, we do want to do an After Dark episode. So if you ever want to come, let me know. You could be our inaugural After Dark guest.
So when is After Dark? I'm just trying to figure out when
After
it is in
Dark
Australia.
After you've had the tequila.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Bringing us full circle.
At like 8 a.m. in the morning for me, is that
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
5 o'clock somewhere? That's right.
We should just call it After Tequila.
Well, I am German, so really I should like go after the German time zone.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
No, we'll just it's a new theme where you take a shot at tequila and then we talk about Jira. And then we'll see what happens.
That sounds good.
All right.
That's when the real opinions come out.
And that's when the real Jira admin stuff will come out. Always a
Nice.
pleasure, Jens. And again,
Always
thank
a
you
pleasure.
so much for being one of our very first supporters, very first fans of the Jira Life, and a contributing factor to our not so awesome logo.
Well, we'll have like maybe for the second year we can work together on a refresh.
We made it into black and white, so
There you go.
we needed a printable one for Teams, so we made a black and white one. So there's progress.
All right. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
And
I
Go
did
ahead.
have them recorded, right? So I've had you record our tagline.
Me?
Yeah, I don't think we have it ready to play though.
Oh yeah, well, a team we try to capture everybody's recording of the tagline.
Yeah, you did get me. Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got to go through those. That's on my Toto. But until then, thank you for watching the Jira Life. And as we always say here, we didn't choose the Jira Life. Jira Life chose us.
Thank you for listening to the Jira Life. Our hosts are Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira Guy, Nissen. You can find Alex on YouTube at 8Tech Tutorials, and Rodney's blog is found over at thejiraguy.com. Our producers are Robert King Bob Wen and Lina Ortiz. You can catch us live as we record this podcast every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at The Jira Life. Be sure to join us and our other Jira Amigos of the Peanut Gallery every week to ask your questions, let us know your comments, and just tell us what you're up to. But if you can't join us live, you can still catch the replay over on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell while you're watching. We're also available as a podcast over on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you listen to it and think it deserves a rating, we would very much appreciate it, as it will help others discover the Jira Life. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us.